Something is glowing, deep inside a cave, in a place where nothing should be burning at all. No lightning reaches this far down, no dry grass to catch a spark. Whatever is keeping this alive isn't human. It isn't even close to human. It's 1.79 million years ago. And the honest answer to, when did we first control fire, was just rewritten a few weeks ago by people testing bones most of us will never hear about. Every other tool humans ever made does one job. A spear kills, a blade cuts, a needle sews. Fire does 5 jobs at once, and none of them were optional. It kept the cold from killing you. It kept the dark from hiding what was hunting you. It turned food that could barely keep you alive into food that could grow a bigger brain. It let a group of people sit facing each other after the sun went down, for the first time in the history of life on Earth. And eventually, it let you bend metal into a shape it never wanted to be. Every one of those 5 things had to be discovered separately. None of them were obvious, and the first one, just keeping a fire alive, took longer to figure out than anyone assumed. Here is the part almost nobody pictures correctly. For a staggeringly long stretch of time, nobody could start a fire. Not one person, anywhere on Earth. Fire only existed because lightning, or a volcano, or a spark off 2 rocks in a landslide, made it exist first. Every fire a human being ever used, for hundreds of thousands of years, was a fire someone else, nature, had already lit. Which means the first skill wasn't making fire. The first skill was theft. Find a wildfire. Take a burning branch out of it before it kills you. Get it somewhere safe. And then, this is the hard part, never, ever let it go out. Because if it goes out, you don't get another one. You wait. Maybe years. In 2012, a team working at Wonderwerk cave in South Africa's Kalahari Desert found ash, charred bone, and burnt stone tools a full meter inside solid rock, sealed in a layer dated to about 1 million years old. At the time, that was the oldest confirmed evidence of controlled fire use anywhere on the planet. A genuine record holder. Then, this year, the same cave gave up something older. Researchers went back, 30 meters deeper into the cave than daylight or wildfire smoke could ever reach, and tested over 160 fossil bones using a new technique, shining specific wavelengths of light onto them to detect a glow that only appears after intense heat exposure. Every single bone from the deepest layer tested positive for burning. That layer dates to between 1.07 and 1.79 million years old, which means whoever was keeping that fire alive wasn't a modern human. Modern humans didn't exist yet. This was almost certainly Homo erectus, a completely different older species in our family tree. Here's the part the headlines skip. This isn't evidence that Homo erectus could make fire. The researchers are careful about that distinction, and it matters. The evidence says something stranger. It says they found fire, brought it somewhere specific and repeatable. The same cave, used again and again over hundreds of thousands of years, and kept it going long enough to leave burnt bone behind, deep enough underground that it couldn't have happened by accident. That's not an accident. That's a decision, repeated by a species without language as we know it, without the ability to strike a spark on command. And they still figured out how to keep something alive that they couldn't yet create. Here's where it stops being a survival story and starts being an evolution story. Raw meat and raw plants take enormous amounts of energy just to chew and digest. Cooked food doesn't. Heat breaks food down before your body has to. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham built an entire theory around this, that cooking food didn't just make meals more convenient. It freed up so much energy that the human body could afford to grow something it couldn't previously afford. A bigger brain, smaller guts, smaller jaws and teeth than earlier ancestors, and a brain that, generation after generation, kept getting bigger, fed by energy that fire made available for the first time. You are, quite literally, cooked. Before fire, night was simply the time you couldn't do anything. You slept because there was nothing else available to you. No light, no safety, nothing to look at. Fire changed what night was. For the first time, a group of people could sit in a circle, facing each other, faces lit from below, awake, together, with nothing left to do but talk. Some researchers argue this, not hunting, not tool-making, is where storytelling, and by extension complex language and culture, actually took root. Not around a task, around a fire, doing nothing but being with each other after dark. That circle you picture when someone says sit by the fire. That image is not a metaphor. It might be one of the oldest specific memories built into being human at all. For hundreds of thousands of years, every fire on Earth was borrowed. Then, at some point still debated by archaeologists, someone learned to strike sparks from stone or spin a stick fast enough against dry wood to make its own ember. This is the moment. Fire stopped being something you found and started being something you owned. A group no longer had to stay near a source. A fire could go out and be reborn on command, anywhere, anytime. It's easy to miss how enormous that shift was, because we've had it for so long we forgot it was ever missing. Once fire could be made on command, everything downstream of it accelerated. Fire hardened the tips of wooden spears. Fire cleared land for the first farms. Fire baked the first pottery, which meant food and water could finally be stored and carried. And eventually, fire hot enough to soften and shape metal gave humans bronze, then iron, weapons, tools, and the entire foundation of every civilization that followed. Every empire that ever rose on top of a fire someone kept alive first. You will probably use fire today without thinking about it once. A stove, a lighter, a furnace you never see, burning somewhere in your building's basement. None of it required you to steal an ember from a wildfire and carry it home in your bare hands, praying it wouldn't go out before you reached shelter. But somewhere, roughly 1.79 million years ago, someone did exactly that. Not a modern human. Not even close. And every single fire since then, every candle, every stove, every campfire you've ever sat around, is, in an unbroken line, descended from whatever they managed to keep alive that night. The fire in front of you tonight is the same fire that made you capable of having a brain large enough to wonder about it.